The final element of introduction that I want to mention before we really delve into talking about the various components of our novel um, are characters. And our novel follows three really focuses largely on three main characters. And you'll see a complete comprehensive list of all of the kind of major and minor characters of the novel in Canvas. So I encourage you to take a look at that just to kind of keep them all in your brain because they're all important, but the three that we really focus on, particularly because those are the narrative viewpoints that we are given, are Rose, Pinky, and Ida. But it's important for us to remember that this novel is not full of rounded characters. In fact, Green is really preoccupied with a range of. What I mean by round is that they're not dynamic. They don't necessarily evolve significantly in the kind of course of the novel. And it despite the fact that they're not as dynamic or as fully rounded, so to speak, as characters in other novels, it doesn't make them any the less interesting or complex in an interesting kind of way. They're like our city of Brighton has two sides. Each of these characters have kind of two sides to them. And what's important to note is not necessarily how they change or anything like that, but the emphasis here is for us to look into their states of mind and the nature of their conflict with each other, with themselves, with society at large, because it's really not necessarily action driven, so to speak, but really the thing that Green takes great pains with doing is exploring their mind states, their psychological environment. So our first kind of protagonist, antagonist, I don't know, you can make the argument that he is both, is Pinky Brown. And he's called the boy in the kind of first 50 pages of our book. But the boy, or Pinky, is this kind of 16, 17-year-old hopeful leader of a gang. And we get, I don't want to go too much into it at this point because I really want to have those conversations together collectively. But Pinky is the hopeful leader of a gang. He wants to take the place of Kite, who was the former leader of his mob and who's been knifed and razored up and killed by a rival gang in the town of Brighton. We have this kind of turf war going on, and at the head of that one mob is the boy. He is conflicted with his Roman Catholic faith and the world around him, and those conflicts are so intriguing. I mean, Pinky is really an interesting character, and I can't wait to see what you guys think about him. But we really see his mind working and all of that kind of thing. So Pinky, he's the boy, he's 16, he is a hopeful leader of the gang, and we know that he and his mob are responsible for the murder of Hale, who I won't talk about here, but we will talk about when we talk about part one. Also, one of our key characters is Ida Arnold. And Ida is. I don't know how you're going to feel about Ida because she is certainly someone with a big personality. She is a divorcee in her 30s. She is noted for her overt sexuality. She's this beautiful, full-figured woman. She's incredibly popular. I mean, it's like she doesn't know a stranger. She's just one of those people that people tend to gravitate to for whatever reason. And she uses that to her advantage. I mean, she's all about having she's full of life, and she wants to live a life that is exciting and borders on dangerous, and she is someone that I think that Green both envies and likes and dislikes at the same time. So anyways, she is not from Brighton. She is a native of London, and that's important and a key distinction to make for her. She is very superstitious and not at all religious, which really kind of ties her to that secular world. But despite the fact that she is not religious, she is a firm believer in right and wrong. She's naturally curious, and because of her entanglement with Hale, she becomes entangled with Pinky. And so, um, because she becomes kind of entangled with Pinky, she becomes concerned for our third major character, Rose. And Rose is a 15-year-old girl from Brighton. She is a waitress. She works at Snow's, which is you'll come to know is a pretty important place in the novel. She comes from an extremely impoverished background, and that is key to understanding her character. She is Catholic, like Pinky, and through her job and her interactions with I mean, all of these things kind of happen happenstancely. These people probably would never have come into contact with one another had it not been for a specific moment in time. But because of that, she gets caught up in the middle of this crime investigation, and she becomes entangled with someone who is potentially dangerous to her, if not physically, spiritually, and morally. So, the things that I want you guys to consider for part one, there's this element of duality in that every person has two sides, religion or Catholicism, as well as this kind of spiritual, supernatural elements with Ida and her Ouija board, the representation of Brighton, the representation of women, commercialism and wealth, and how it's described and displayed in the town. And we get that with the objective commentary of the narrator, light and dark imagery, and clocks and time and ambiguity. And as you read for part two, I also would like for you to think of Graham Greene's use of description, Pinky's situation and outlook, and the contrast between Pinky's trying to impress Rose and bordering on intimidating, and his meeting with Corleone. So keep those ideas in mind as we move through our first part of the novel. I'm going to have a live section of lecture to talk about both part one and part two with you guys, because I think it'll be more helpful than me just kind of talking at the screen. So I will schedule that, but these are important things for you as by way of introducing you to the novel and Graham Greene and Brighton Rock. And I really hope that you guys give this novel a chance. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. So keep reading, and use your guided reading notes if you'd like. Make sure you take notes, because you're eventually going to have to write your final literary analysis on this novel, so it's important to take notes. So let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and I can't wait to read this novel with you.